Hello, you all. I hope you're all doing well. And today I want to share with you some findings of my recent thoughts. I have been going inward a lot lately and reflecting a lot about my past life. This life, but my past. And just connecting the dots of certain events and stages in my life that I didn't see before. And yeah, so the topic is healthy ecosystem. When my recent business had a crisis, I really questioned the concept of community and systems and ecosystems. And so I started to dive in researching online and also just thinking about how the ecosystems in my life have been set up and why they failed. And with ecosystems, I mean social ecosystems like family, business, schools, clubs. Each community needs structure, and each structure of an entity needs community, like needs people who bring it alive. And it has to be a symbiosis. It has to work together. Otherwise, there is no flourishing ecosystem. At the core of every ecosystem is one goal. In the Earth ecosystem, it is to preserve and to regenerate Earth itself, or just life. Let's say preserve life and keep life flourishing. And every part and organism and community works towards the same thing. And in a family, it should kind of be the same. But in a business, for example, you might have a different goal, like you're working towards a goal, and that will be the purpose of this whole ecosystem. And then there are different leaders and sometimes different departments. And within each department, which has a leader each, there is also a community. So there, in an ecosystem, there might be multiple communities in a department, and all the different departments work towards the same goal. And of course, there needs to be information flow as well within the community or within the ecosystem, and some sort of connecting network. And there are a couple of other things that are needed, but I think I will go through them with the examples. So my family, our purpose or heart or like connecting thing was the belief in God. We grew up very believing, and also we grew up in I think you can call it a cult. It's not an extreme cult like other cults that I've heard of, but yes, so it was kind of a cult. And so that was really kind of the binding thing, that we had structure and routine around it, and like having to do Sunday service every Sunday, and prayers every day, mealtime. What didn't go well with this community or with this ecosystem is, yes, there was structure. yes, there was a routine, so that was good, but the roles were not balanced. My mom had multiple burnouts because she had to take care of 4 kids and try to get money. She was a teacher, an English teacher on the side, and she only earned a little bit with it, but it was just very unbalanced. And then on top of that, what did not work out is there was this one binding thing, the heart of the family, but the leaders, my parents, did not embody what they were preaching. So that left us kids confused, right? So we heard things, but we experienced it differently in our physical reality. There was also no communication between the leaders, my parents, but also with us kids. So I think that just made everything crumble. We never spoke about difficult things. Even the good things we didn't speak about. There has also been a twisted sense of humbleness, where when someone gave me a compliment, I couldn't take it, I couldn't receive it. And I've learned this from my dad. He had the same thing. So yeah, there were a lot of things that went wrong. And so this is just one example, and I will move on to the next now, which is the opposite. I played handball for almost, I think, around 11 years. And this ecosystem was amazing. That was such a good experience. And also because it wasn't always easy. We did have arguments, and we didn't always win. And there were sometimes bitch fights. But so to break it down again, the heart and the purpose was to and this is different than most people would probably think, to enjoy the game and get better at it. It was never to win. And I think this is a really strong why. I think sometimes realization, maybe the why wasn't clear enough in our family. And the why in the handball team was very clear. To get better, but to never lose the joy of playing. I spoke about clarity in the past video, I think, 1 or 2. And it keeps coming up, so it's a really important thing for me and for everyone, I think, also. What went well is that everyone knew what the goal was, or what the heart was, what the why was, and everyone was aligned with it. And when someone got punished or just didn't follow the rules, and of course there has to be rules in an ecosystem for it to be working. Otherwise it's just chaos. And so when someone didn't follow the rules, they would get punished, but it was never out of a personal reaction. It was always aligned with the strategy and the goal, the end goal, right? Oh yeah, what I loved is that we communicated so much. And it was, of course, mostly around handball, but we also just made friends, and we talked about life. And sometimes when we didn't want to go to training, we would go just to see the people and not because of the training. But also the leader was so on eye level. There was no top down, and he was a friend as well, the coach. And before every game and after every game, we would sit together and just have feedback round, and I love that they were open to hear what the people had to say, and they would want to implement it. And an ecosystem does not work when there is a top-down hierarchy, because at some point it just ends. It doesn't circle back, right? So it's just, there is a huge imbalance. But when it's a circle like our Earth's ecosystem, it just never ends. The energy flows and flows and flows and regenerates, and in between, or all the time. And the same was there in this group, in this handball club. And it was a circle because, yes, we had a coach, which was the leader, but within the group we also had leaders, and they would change. And I love this, because to me a leader position is not fixed, or should not be fixed. It should always be changing. So there is a team coach, how do you say, a team captain, who will lead the team on the field while the coach is outside the line. And then in a handball setup, the middle person, even if that middle person is not the team captain, this person is still a leader, because the position itself demands for this person to be leading what moves we're gonna play, kind of coordinate the whole game and the tactics. And so I happen to be in that position. But before I started to be really comfortable in this leadership position, someone else was in this position. So when I look back, I noticed that we all were students and teachers at some point. And for example, in a different position, I would have had no clue how to play that different position, and someone else who knew how to play that position would teach me, because sometimes it happened that we had to swap positions temporarily, or to help out, and then I could learn from the person who is really good in this position. So it was always a constant giving and taking, and we all knew that competition within the team will hinder us. But if we try to give all our knowledge and want to help each other be better in their position, it would be more beneficial for the team than if I got more playing time, for example. I played in 2 different teams, and one team I could really see where there was almost no ego involved, and that was a really amazing team. That was probably the best experience I had in my handball career. Yes. Oh yeah, and then when you communicate so much and really train the same thing over and over again and try to perfect it together, at some point, and that happened with us, is that you only have to look at the person a specific way and they know what to play, which move to go. And I really love this unspoken communication, like it happens in nature, because in nature you can see every part just does, they know what they have to do. They don't have to ask, or it's just, or even the birds, when the birds fly, and everyone just knows, like this group consciousness. When you step out of the ego, it just starts to flow, and you shut off the brain, turn off the brain, and you just let the body and the thing, like it, do what you've learned. And yeah, this has been really one of my best experiences in my life, this flow state. Okay, and then I want to go to the next example, which has been my first business that I've co-founded with my ex. And that obviously did not work. And the heart was to grow into a leading branding agency within the climate market. And at that time, I didn't really want to necessarily continue designing. I was wanting to try something else, but I knew that this was my skill and I could earn money easily with. And so the reason why we niched into this climate market is because I really wanted to make a difference, helping the planet regenerate. And with my skills, I couldn't do this with design, but I could empower other businesses who are working on solutions to lift them up with their branding and be more seen and maybe get funding and become more mainstream, so the whole planet could benefit from their solution. And so I really, really loved the niche, and I loved working with all those leaders. And so in our ecosystem, what went wrong is that there was an imbalance with maybe power. There was a power imbalance. He was very dominant, and even within the leadership team, there was a top-down hierarchy. And the team saw that, of course. And when someone is dominant, the other person will feel not valued. I didn't feel valued, and other people in the team also did not feel valued. And when a leader doesn't trust his team to do their work, the team is gonna go away. And that's exactly what happened. People quit. I quit. Yeah, it's actually a sad story, because every single one of these people were so ready to help, were so ready to step up and to take even a different role than they applied for, to help this startup growing and to be a part of building something beautiful. It was like there was so much fire from everyone, and slowly I could see it getting smaller and smaller, and he killed the fire, basically. Okay, and then my second business, which I co-founded with my friend, is this learning hub in nature, or like on a permaculture farm, but it's based all around freedom. The values are really giving the kids freedom and teaching them autonomy. So it means the kids can be free in their environment is very free, so they don't have to sit all day long on a chair. There is structure throughout the day. They start with a democratic circle, then they will have a slot of academics, and then they're free to roam around on the farm, be with the animals, or just do what they like. There are things that they can play with, trampoline, they can be active, or there is also an atelier, an art corner. And really the idea is that they use their interests to learn, but that means also they have to be autonomous in them doing it. So not expecting people to feed them or entertain them, right? And the parents were so in love with this concept, and they're like, yay, we want to give all of this freedom to our kids. But contrary to my first business, where the team was willing to step up, those parents were not willing to contribute. They did not embody what we were wanting to teach the children, which is taking responsibility, being autonomous. So the parents just actually had expectations and put them towards us, the founders, and they would not take responsibility to homeschool, for example. They just expected us to teach the kids everything, and that isn't just the academics, that was also interpersonal and social skills. There was even one parent asking us to make sure the kid eats, and the kid couldn't even wipe the bum after toilet, and this kid was already 6 years old. So we had to really change something. And I think it didn't help that our business was set up as a for-profit business, because that meant that, like, in the business structure there were 2 leaders and 2 founders, right? And even though that we communicated that we needed a community, it just didn't happen. And then we had a crisis meeting where we told the parents that we're going to restructure and that we're going to create an association, which means that we have to have 9 people in the board, plus different how do you call them, departments or something, I don't remember, like different departments underneath. And that was the moment where the parents were willing to take a role and contribute to us growing, because we were just burning ourselves out, me and my co-founder. And when we communicated this, they realized it, and now it starts to flow. So looking back at those 4 examples, there are a few things that stick out to me, which is the why needs to be very, very clear, and everyone needs to be aligned. And I want to go back to the school. There has been one incident that one person in the team said she was aligned with our values and what we stand for and our vision. But when it came hard on hard with all the changes that have been happening, this person was out. Like, she shut down and we weren't able to connect to her. I think money in the end was more important to her than building our vision. And that is a very big thing. Every single person, even if it's just one part, everyone needs to be aligned and deeply aligned. Not just saying, not just I like the idea, but really feeling it here in the heart. And the smaller the group, obviously the more important, because if one person falls out, everything will start to shake. And then the communication part is so important, because without communication there cannot be improvement. And what comes with communication is not just speaking but listening. So it always has to be both, which ties into the idea of leadership, or like changing leadership, or being student and teacher at the same time. Even someone who has more experience can learn from a younger person just by listening and to see where they're coming from, what perspective they have. Yes, so I think clear why, a clear structure with rules, house rules or game rules, communication flow, and aligned people who are willing to lift each other up and put the ego behind and act as a group. So dissolving the ego a little bit and embracing the group consciousness or group mind. Yes, and this is really difficult to actually create, I think. You really have to filter out the people that are not contributing, and this is a difficult thing, right? Especially when you pay someone. How can you know for what reason this person wants to do the work, right? And I think this is also, you see why the Handball Club went so well, because people were paying to be part of it and not the other way around. Like, it wasn't the club paid the people to be part of it. And this is a little bit different in business, right? You pay people to be part of it. So it gets more difficult to discern for what reasons the people join. Yeah, okay. This is just food for thought, and also like a journal entry for me to not forget what I was researching and thinking about. But I know there's many other parts, important parts, that have big influence in a healthy ecosystem, like diversity, to create more resilience and blah 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 blah. But I think those are like a few key pillars, and I'm very interested to hear what you know about ecosystems, and how you have observed maybe in your life which ecosystem worked and didn't work and why. The most interesting part for me will become when I am now actually setting up my ecosystem in my life. You know, I have an ecosystem here also, like with me, with my daily routines. That is a system as well, and I'm the one person community. and yes, to build up something small and then expand it. I think sometimes we also want to skip and make it too big too quick, but it's all a learning process, and I'm curious how I will implement this new knowledge in my life. Okay, so I hope that helped, and see you next time.